will give you improved communication, public speaking, and leadership skills, all while building confidence for your next big presentation, whether it's in person or online. From those looking to change the world to those just looking to give a boost to their career, we know how to help. Build confidence in you. Toastmasters International is a nonprofit organization that has helped millions around the globe build confidence with public speaking. Since 1924, our Learn by Doing program will give you improved communication, public speaking, and leadership skills, all while building confidence for your next big presentation, whether it's in person or online. From those looking to change the world to those just looking to give a boost to their career, we know how to help. Build confidence in you.
Hello, leaders. It's exactly the top of the hour on my watch. It is so lovely to have you here. If this is your very first time joining us, my name is Maud Nale. I'm the Corporate Relations Manager for Toastmasters Southern Africa, this Toastmasters year. And this is the Corporate Leadership Network. The Corporate Leadership Network is a community of leaders who come from corporate clubs. In this forum, we engage, we problem solve, we share tips, ideas, and most importantly, we network on some of the challenges that we're facing, and we work together to find solutions to those challenges. When we kicked off this program in July, when we sent out a questionnaire, one of the questions that we asked you was, does your club have a mentorship program? Is it effective? And how can we assist? And many of you came back and said, no, we do not have a mentorship program. Or you said, yes, we do have a program, but it's not working the way we wanted it to work. Or no, we don't have one, and we really would love assistance to be able to do that. And so 2 weeks ago, if you'd recall the network, our facilitator then, Edmo Gamundani, Distinguished Toastmaster, he set the scene for us talking about the importance of membership and how you can use mentorship, not membership, but mentorship in accelerating your members' growth. That was a very, very insightful conversation, setting the scene for today's session, where we get into the meat of the mentorship on how to set up the mentorship program. As we marketed the event far and wide, we asked you to please invite your fellow EXCO members, because the mentorship program is not just done by one particular leader, but by a large group of your fellow EXCO members. The first one, who's very critical in running the mentorship program, is the Vice President of Education. Mentorship forms part of your role as the Vice President of Education, but you do not do this alone. In fact, you won't be able to accomplish it because it's a very big task on its own. And so your president becomes very, very useful in assisting with putting that program together, as well as your immediate past president. One of the roles of the immediate past president is they assist as the coordinator of the mentorship program, as requested upon by the president and the vice president of education. If you're from a new club that chartered or registered from about July 2021 to now, you may not have an immediate past president, or maybe you're part of a club where your immediate past president has since left the company and you're not, and that role is vacant. Not to worry, that is why we've asked for your other fellow EXCO members to be part of the conversation. And then your club may have a coach, or if it's a new club, you have a mentor, or maybe you're coaching a corporate club. It's great to have you with us. If you're a new club mentor, also lovely. One of your tasks as a coach or a mentor, before you walk away from your assignment, becomes very important that you set that club up for success in the future by setting up that mentorship program with them. So it's lovely to have you with us. And then, of course, if you aspire to take on any of these roles in the future, maybe mentorship excites you, or you're looking forward to you're in another role now and you want to be the vice president of education come the 1st of July, or maybe the incoming president, or from the 1st of July, you're a cousin president and you'll be the immediate past president, or you're looking to be a coach or mentor in the next Toastmasters year, then you are at the right place. Last month or 2 weeks ago, our facilitator was Edmo Gamundani. He's graciously agreed to come back today and lead this practical discussion on how to set up a mentorship program. But before I invite him onto the stage, I'm just going to introduce him for those who do not know. He's a keynote speaker. He's an executive excellent coach in the areas of speaking, interview skills, and leadership. He believes in people's limitless potential. He has a passion for forming people and enjoying nurturing and watching people grow. In his 9 to 5, he is a human resources development executive. He is also a past marketing director right here in Toastmasters Southern Africa, and he's also a past Toastmasters mentorship program team leader. If you've been in Toastmasters for a couple of months, you will know of the Toastmasters Without Borders, or Mentors Without Borders mentorship program at Toastmasters. He was a past leader. Share his insights with us. He's a 2-time distinguished Toastmaster, and he says, I am not a member of Toastmasters, but Toastmasters is a way of life. I hope you have your pens, your paper, and your team is here. We will give you an opportunity to ask questions, but we'd suggest that you jot them down as we go along the the session. If you have something that relates to what's being discussed at the time, jot it or pop it into the chat box so that we can weave your question into the discussion and so that we do not waste any of your time. At this point, I'm now going to ask Edmore, are you in the virtual room, Edmore?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you so much. The virtual stage is yours, distinguished Toastmaster Edmore Gamundani.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maud, and welcome to everyone to the call. I just joined the meeting. I'm not too sure what else Maud had said, but I was in time to then start presenting as soon as she had introduced me. For those who did not attend the last session, this is actually a second session. This is the second session, and I would probably call it 2 of 2. I hope it is 2 of 2. The last one was 1 of 2. Maybe just as a start, for those who managed to attend the last meeting, what were the key issues that we discussed? Or maybe let me give an easier question. What are the benefits of mentoring? What are the benefits of mentoring?
Hi, Edmore. Just before you continue with your discussion, can I humbly ask that Edmore be spotlighted so that we're all able to see him large on our screens? I'd be so grateful. We're a very big group tonight, and I want to see Edmore so that I can interact with him. If he could be spotlighted, please. So much.
There's no problem with the person who's supposed to be spotlighting. There is a problem with me. Unfortunately, I am working on my mobile device, but I'm in the process of trying to connect my laptop. As soon as that is done, I'll turn on my video and then we can interact.
Thank you so much, DTM. That's no problem at all. I can see you big and clear on my screen. That is perfect. Back to you.
All right. So for those who were there in the last meeting, what is the importance of mentoring? Is this a totally new crowd?
We have a lot of members who are joining us for the very first time. Some of them are coaches or mentors, and they may not be part of the corporate leadership network. So maybe, for the sake of time, you could set the scene for us on what we discussed at our last session so that we don't waste any of the time and so that the leaders who were not here can be at speed with the rest of us who were.
Okay, great. So in the last meeting, I told a story of how I struggled to get an item that I wanted to get in a supermarket. And the first time that I went there, I'd been sent to pick up an item. And I was in a hurry. I'm sure a lot of you can identify with being in a hurry. And I went into that shop hoping that I would be done in at least 3 minutes. But I spent close to 10 minutes because now I had to locate the aisle of the item that I needed to go and buy, or that I had been sent to buy. Later on, out of frustration, I called on one of the shop assistants, and the shop assistant quickly assisted me, something that I had not found in over 5 minutes. We made a beeline to where the item was located. And sooner or later, I left the shop. So that is an example of mentoring, in my view. There is somebody who works in the shop already. There is somebody who knows where the items are. And as soon as you tell them what you would want, they quickly assist you to the item that you want, and you take a shorter time. So it is in mentoring. You find that people who have been in Toastmasters, usually for 6 months, some can have been there for a shorter time, but they can assist you to learn the ropes. And simply here, learning the ropes is they'll help you out in finding your way. That reduces the issue of frustration for people who are just getting into the organization. They know what they want, but they don't know how to quickly get that. That is where a mentor comes in to assist. Today, the main aim of today's session is to then see how best we can set up this mentoring program. And a mentoring program, as the name suggests, is a program that assists a club to set up a systematic way of assisting, particularly the new members. Allow me at this point to focus on the new members. I know there is the part of mentorship whereby somebody has been in the organization for quite some time and now they need assistance. That can be part of a different conversation. The most critical part for me is the part where somebody is joining for the first time. They're joining Toastmasters for the first time. And I'll give you an example. Many moons ago, I joined one of our local universities as a freshman or as a first-year student. One of the very first things that I remember that happened is we were called into an auditorium. All the first years were called into an auditorium. And we were addressed by the various faculties and various departments that could assist us as students. One of the departments was that of the Student Representative Committee. And the way that they got to us as students, back in the day, it was called adumbrating. I don't know if it is a proper English word, but it was really telling you that you have landed at an institution of higher learning and you have landed at the epitome of academia in the country. That's the kind of language that they were using. You know, these big, high-sounding words that convince you that you're now in a different space. That said, we were coming from high school, some had been to boarding schools, some had been to mission schools, but all of a sudden you're being introduced to this larger-than-life institution. But what that helped us do as first years, or what that helped first years to do, is to actually understand that firstly, you are no longer accountable to your parents necessarily, because most of the time you're spending at the college, you have some newfound freedom. But even in that newfound freedom, you were then given guidelines. The church organizations came and also said their word. The Student Representative Council came and said their word. The health, the wellness coordinators came and shared their word. And in all this, it was like presenting the menu so that you could easily navigate your way through the institution and enjoy your journey as a student. And I was just thinking, if I had not been inducted in that way, and all of a sudden you're discovering elements at every turn, I probably would have been overwhelmed. And unfortunately, for some of my colleagues who had not participated in that event, some of them failed all of their first year of their first semester modules because they failed to balance as a result of not having been inducted into the institution. And as such, they were overwhelmed. And it was mostly from hearsay on some of the things that they were then engaging in. So for me, that is the thrust of mentoring. When somebody joins the organization, or when somebody joins the club, as it were, they become a part of the family, of the bigger family, that is. But it can be so daunting. Like for most first years, when I was in university at that time, they need that guidance. We needed that guidance. And talking of the issue of the supermarket that I was talking of, the guidance helped me to quickly get what I wanted. And for me, that is the essence of a mentoring program. You are having a systematic way of bringing in a new member into the club and also assisting them through their first few steps and helping them understand. It would be nice, and for me, it would be first prize, if there could be sessions twice a week where you are having this induction or this in-depth induction of your first years, of your first timers in Toastmasters. But we'll all appreciate the challenge that we have in the space that we are in. Toastmasters is for adults, and adults who come from all walks of life. I had to attend this meeting, and I had to make time to attend this meeting. I could only do this at the end of the day, because during the day I was so busy. So now imagine if I had to be conducting maybe 2 sessions every week. 2 sessions every week where I'm just trying to assist the new members. That would not be possible. I think I'm not. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay. I hope you can see me. Great. So here we are. We all are so busy these days, and online has not made it any easier. And hence, it then becomes important that we become even more structured. Studies have shown that people who are inducted into an organization efficiently, they are likely to stay longer, and they are not overwhelmed. And the challenge that you will get, or that you will find as Toastmasters, some of you can actually testify to that the first time that you walked into a Toastmasters meeting, for those who happen to be able to do that during pre-pandemic where it was face-to-face, and even today there are some clubs that are actually conducting their meetings face-to-face. For those who actually managed that at that time, you will appreciate that as a stranger, you're getting into a room, and here are people who are so polished in their manner of operation and speech. And the reason why you actually joined Toastmasters is so that you could be a better speaker and a better leader. But you're getting into a room where you feel the presenters there and the leaders there have already arrived. It can be just so daunting. So one thing that is important in setting up a mentoring program is firstly to ensure that from the word go, the people, the new member who's coming on board is not overwhelmed. And in effect, that is the essence of a mentoring program, whereby you onboard. In some organizations, it's actually called onboarding. And I think that's another term that we can actually use for the mentoring program, that it is an onboarding program. For starters, how do you get your members into the club? Earlier on, our coordinator indicated that when questions are not asked, are not answered quick enough, I may then just need to proceed. Is there anyone on the call who would like to share how they process a new member? From the, maybe let's start from the time that they've paid their subscriptions and they're coming in, they've paid their subscriptions. What happens from that time they pay their subscriptions up until maybe they get to deliver their icebreaker? Anyone on the call? I'm assuming. Okay.
Crystal. We are from the Accenture Toastmasters Club in Mauritius. Unfortunately, we've not had the chance to have meetings other than virtual ones. For the newcomers, well, what we've done so far, I'm not sure that this should be the way though. We unfortunately, well, we don't have like an induction pathway. We do welcome the new members in our new sessions. And we have, well, the others showcasing their icebreaker. And unfortunately, we only tell them that this is how it goes and that pretty soon they will need to do the icebreaker. So I'm not sure that is the correct way, and I'm open to learning how we could do that way better, because this is how we got included in the hub. And virtually, it's kind of very difficult to be able to welcome newcomers, and I'm here tonight as well to learn how we could do that better.
Okay, thank you very much. Look, we are Toastmasters. I remember one international director once indicating that Toastmasters is where we learn. So when you then say to somebody, you can't probably take on a leadership role because maybe the treasurer's role as a club officer, because you have never done the role before. It's like saying to a student who cannot read and write, you can't come to school because you cannot read and write. You actually come to school to learn how to read and write. So you join Toastmasters to learn how to lead and write. No, how to lead and speak. So at the end of it, what you are doing may be working to an extent, but there could be other ways that it can be done. So don't feel too bad that probably we're doing things the wrong way. At least you're doing something. We can only then share how we can better it. I saw a hand from Grace Matuba, and then after that, we will have from Sweraj. I hope I got your name correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, DTM. In our club, we've got the VPM for membership. When we've got a new member, the VPM educates the person about Toastmasters, give a summary of what Toastmaster is, like it's an organization that is educating people to be good speakers and good leaders for personal development and professional development. Thereafter, we also inform the person that she must understand that we renew our membership per semester, and that now that he paid the joining fee and the membership fee, in the next semester he's gonna only pay the renewal fee, not the joining fee. Thereafter, we take them through the website where she has to do the survey that will determine the pathway that she or he will take. Now, as soon as he masters the pathway opening the Toastmaster website, that's where now we explain that the pathway have got 5 levels. The first level have got projects. And then for her to complete the level 1, she has to complete the projects in level 1. Then now we explain that he has to prepare his icebreaker, and we explain to the person what sort of information he can prepare, like introducing himself to the club so that we know him. Then now, as soon as he has done that, in a meeting, we will welcome the person and make sure that the members welcome her warmly. We also have a WhatsApp group where we will welcome her warmly. And then the person will present the icebreaker. That is how we do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Grace, for that. Quite elaborate. And I like the pathway that you actually take from the time that they take their survey, they're on the website, then they choose the project, then you then formally welcome them in the meeting, you make them join the WhatsApp groups and the like. Quite comprehensive there. Maybe let's hear from Suraj. Please confirm that is the correct way to pronounce your name. That's the beauty of diversity in District 74.
Thank you, Toastmaster Edmo.
Uh-huh.
My name is Siraj Jionarayan. So Siraj was more or less good.
Okay, thank you.
So let me share about you. Let me share how do we welcome new members in my club. I am from Mauritius Revenue Authority Toastmasters Club, a club which was formed last year in February 2020, just 1 month before the first lockdown in Mauritius. So we had barely the time to have 2 sessions and then boom, into lockdown. What I want to say is that my club is different from other Toastmasters club. We are a corporate club.
Mm-hmm.
All of our members work in the same organization, and we all joined Toastmasters at the same time. So there was nothing like who are the new members, like they were the former members. We are all new in that process, and in Toastmasters, when we were entering the room, there was everyone who was new. We did not have polished speakers there. We did not have role players who did know what should be done on that day. So it was like we were left on our own, but we had some Toastmasters from another club which came to give us a helping hand. I would like to explain to you how it has been different with the new Toastmasters who have joined this year. This year we had 2 new members. When they joined in, we had an installation ceremony to welcome them. They were welcomed with a great applause on the WhatsApp group. We were there to explain to them how do we log on the pathways. We were there to explain to them what is in there in the pathways, how to take the online assessment. And finally, we explained to them, this is a learning platform where you come to lead, you come to learn how to lead and speak. We explain to them that there's no need for you to rush to deliver your icebreaker speech. Make yourself comfortable first, and then you may deliver your very first speech. You may start by taking roles. So as for the first one who joined the club, we did not really get that warm welcome. But for the others who did follow, there was something like it is a little bit well structured. And yes, we learn from that. And maybe the other ones who will be joining in the future, they will be it will be much better for them. And maybe I can learn a little bit more today how to structure that process. So over to you, Toastmaster Edmo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Suraj. And again, quite an elaborate process that you are doing. And you bring in a dimension that is important for us to also discuss, because already there are two dimensions to this. The first one is you've got a club that has been running where you have some senior members. And then you've got a club where you've got all new members. But at the end of it, it is still more or less the same process. And I'm glad that you actually bring up the issue of the induction, for me, the induction onto the pathways. Back in the day, it was probably a lot easier. You hand somebody the manual and you tell them that on this page, that is where you find the instructions for an icebreaker. But now it's a different ballgame. You need to assist them to get onto the platform. So for me, that then becomes very important. If there is something that you should also take away from this, for clubs that are not already doing it, the first thing that you would want to do is to introduce the person to the platform, because this is the platform that they're going to be using for all their upskilling in terms of speaking. So it is important that you are introducing them to the tools of the trade in terms of the material that you're going to get. One thing that I'm famed for, at least locally, is RTM. And I still strongly believe in that. RTM simply standing for read the manual. You can tell that I joined during the time when there were actually physical manuals, but I still call the material that you are getting online. So I can always then adapt it to the new form. Read the materials, RTM, read the materials. So at the end of it, the materials will then assist you, but you need to assist the new member to get onto reading the materials and actually take them through. It could be that in your club, the vice president membership is probably the person who is best suited to it. But remember, there's one aspect that we do not sufficiently do in our Toastmasters Club, in our Toastmasters clubs, and maybe even in life in general, whereby we then assist each other. But let me just go back a bit on the aspect of reading the material. At least now I have learned a new word that I can use so that I do not sound so ancient and be talking about the manuals. So read the materials. They say if you want to hide something from the majority of people, put it in writing. There is a lot. At least if it is hidden in the writing, you can always catch up. The beauty of using the Basecamp, the beauty of using online, the materials that we have, the pathways that we have, the beauty that you now have now is that you can also even view the videos. I should be coming up with a lot of these abbreviations, but at the end of it, let's just get the material. That then becomes important. First element that needs to come through is maybe not the first, but an important element that needs to come through. Assist the new member to be able to get access to the material and be able to at least use the material. I remember back in the day, okay, very soon you'll be able to figure out how old I am. We were being taught how to use computers, how to use word processing, which is Word. And I can tell you that after having attended the ICDL, as it was called back then, I'm sure it's still called that, but there has been a lot of improvements. After having attended that, I understood Word and I could type. But up to today, I can tell you more than 90% of the things that I get or that I use on Word were self-taught. And how? Through navigation. But it was important that I get taught the basics of then going on to Word and then developing the confidence to be able to make mistakes and even laugh at myself sometime down the line when I could now use mail merge, but previously I had to type one letter at a time. So you see, you then get to learn some of these things later, but what becomes key and what is important is the start. So one key element which has been mentioned that I just thought becomes important as you go on the mentorship program is the issue of the platform that's being used. Just the basics of that. As of who does it, that can be subject to discussion depending on what club. But the vice president membership is best suited for that. Before we even get there, when you are introducing the person to the organization, like I said, read the materials. And in Toastmasters, anything, any problem that you think you've got, I can rest assure you, there is some material that addresses that. And today, one of the materials that I'm going to anchor on is material that some of you may know. If you know it, at least this is an opportunity for you to refresh. For those who do not know it, I will send it on the platform via link once we've gone through this. It is the new member, the orientation for new members or new member orientation for Toast. There's actually material for that. And it tells you like blow for blow, walks you through after a person has joined, what is the next step? And the very first step, please feel free to interject and stop me because in my next life, I'm likely to be a spirit-filled preacher, but currently I resort to speaking. So if you feel that there is something that you want clarity on, please feel free to interject. I'm just trying to also fit in the material that we have to share today in the 1.5 hours, but you guys already know a lot of stuff. I hope so. So it takes you step by step. And the very first thing that you need to do, we all join Toastmasters for different reasons. So I've been in Toastmasters for more than 15 years. And the reason that I joined Toastmasters is to become a world champion of public speaking. So there's no prize for guessing why I'm still in Toastmasters. Because you have not seen my name on the Hall of Fame as a world champion of public speaking. So that keeps me there. So at the end of it, I know of people who joined Toastmasters. Okay, I actually have a colleague who joined Toastmasters who was encouraged to join Toastmasters because here was somebody who was fairly senior in an organization. He had been promoted because of his technical skills. And now he needed to be presenting to the board on a more strategic level. This was a solid candidate when it came to his understanding of the technical material. And he was just a sought after technocrat. But what got him to that level was not going to take him to the next level. And this is a person, let me neither call them a gentleman or a lady. This person, on their own confession, says that whenever there was a board meeting where they needed to present, they would fake having fallen sick and not able to attend that meeting and probably send some notes or send somebody in order to go and present. the reason they joined Toastmasters, the reason why somebody recommended Toastmasters to them is so that they could speak more confidently. And as such, I know of pastors, I was saying in my next life I may be a pastor, of pastors who have joined because they want to deliver their message more effectively. I know of parents who joined because they wanted to assist their children. So at the end of it, it becomes very key to understand why the member has joined. What are their needs? What are their objectives? And this then assists you to align their objectives to the subsequent steps. So like I said, public speaking, somebody wanted to also to perfect their skills. Somebody probably wants to improve their leadership, and this is an opportunity, and also speaking also becomes part of that. Understand the reason why. Do they need to improve their ability to persuade others? Do they need to put their ideas across more confidently? There could be a million and one reasons why they have joined. But at the end of it, it is important that we establish that. And the next step after we have done that is to then relate to where they are. So in terms of your objective, in terms of my objective, joining Toastmasters, World Champion of Public Speaking, where was I? I felt that in terms of my voice, and I'm sure a number of you can confess to it, but this is not my original voice. Toastmasters has further refined my voice and has further refined my speaking skills. But if you were to go to the situation analysis, my gap analysis at that time, maybe in terms of my speaking, I probably was at 50%. I don't want to be tough on myself. I was probably 50%, maybe 55%, but around there. So I had no particular challenges with speaking. The one challenge that I knew that I had is I was an empty vessel. An empty vessel makes noise. I would speak so well, but in terms of substance, there was very little that you could hold on to. So I wanted to be able to learn to put content in my presentations so that I speak sense, so that I speak in a way that people can understand. So that was my particular challenge. So now that was the gap that I came to Toastmasters for. And that was the gap that I believe has been filled. But one of my favorite sayings, my all-time favorite sayings is the biggest room for improvement. Sorry, terrible. The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And I always challenge people that a person like that I respect in terms of speaking, Barack Obama, can join Toastmasters and even become a better speaker. You can always better your best. So I can still continue to work on the issue of content as an individual. My friend that I was talking about, what he needed is to stand in front of an audience and speak confidently and decode his technical language. So that was his gap. That is why he came to Toastmasters. So that is the next thing. Understand that gap. And how do you understand this? This could be, again, with the vice president membership. Take the new member through that process. Why are you joining Toastmasters? Where do you think you are in terms of leadership, in terms of speaking, or in terms of that bit that you're joining Toastmasters for? Take note. Subsequently, they can change their paths, but at least address that first need. I then joined the leadership path and went all the way. I've still not completed the path, but I still feel I'm on my way. But it's something that I later learned when I was in the organization. But what was key is the start. So now that we have identified that gap, let's then see how best and explain how the club will be able to eliminate the discrepancy, and then discuss what the club expects from each member. Here is another opportunity. Again, this goes to the issue of retention. You'll be surprised. Somebody joins Toastmasters and they just feel that people come here and they deliver their speeches. They have no particular obligations. This new member orientation also takes into account even the members' promise, the new members' promise. Take them through all those paces. Like, look here, you have come here for speaking, and you feel that you are at this stage and you want to go to that stage. The club will assist you, and here are the interventions. We will get somebody to assist you with that. Take note at this point that as they are outlining where their gaps are and what they would want to achieve, it also gives you a hint for the next stage that we're going to be, for another stage that we're going to be talking about. But let me just finish off on this particular one. What are the expectations? So the club is going to assist you, but here is what is expected of you as a member. For this to happen, you need to attend meetings regularly. You need to actively participate. You need to deliver speeches from the materials that you're going to be given as a guideline. So the club is going to assist you to get what you want. But here is what you need to do. So be upfront and honest with them with regards to the commitment that they also have to take in order for them to get that gap that they have to be closed. That for me is very key. And once you've got all these elements put together in terms of what exactly they should commit to and also the gaps that they have, from that, you can then see, and this is for the already established clubs. A new member comes in and you've taken them through these spaces, you can, as the vice president membership or even the vice president education, depending on where you want this to be placed, you can already see in the club who can give the most value to this new member. So if it is speaking, tell you what, in my club, I know that I contest for international speech contest almost every year. People at times, I have been told once that, no, DTM, you should leave it to the new members so that you don't intimidate them by participating in international speech contests at club level. And I told them that is the very reason why I joined Toastmasters. I want to be a world champion of public speaking, so I cannot stop participating in the contests from club level every year, almost every year. But given that, people already know that I'm passionate about speaking, and I love to speak so much. And over the years, I've learned the art. So now, if there is a new member who is as keen as I am in terms of speaking, they are usually directed to me. And I assist them through the paces. It is to be interesting for some of you to know that some of my mentees have gone on to beat me in the international speech contest. But I love about that, and I enjoy that. And one thing that has probably kept me in Toastmasters is to watch people grow. And when I'm able to help them, I think I get a good kind of morphine. I get the kicks from watching people grow. Somebody stammers in their icebreaker, but subsequently when they're in their level 5, they are now so good, and I enjoy that. So at the end of it, this information assists you in the pairing. So this is how we are building this orientation program, where we are establishing the needs, and after that, we are suiting the needs to somebody who is already in the club. I know a quick question that may come through is, what if we do not have that particular person? And that is where, at this point, you may then reach out to, I know the Pushpa should be on the call. They are running a program which is called Mentors Without Borders. And the beauty of online now is that you can get mentors from anywhere, and there are mentors throughout district that can assist. You can get assistance from there. The other bit that I just wanted to talk about, which is an opportunity that we actually miss in most Toastmasters clubs, maybe even all Toastmasters clubs. If for club officers specifically, you will notice that there is a provision that if you're a club officer, it's actually encouraged that you form a subcommittee. So now I've been talking about this interview that you're having with the new member. The vice president membership and their subcommittee can actually do these interviews for the new member to understand where they are. So you can allocate so that you're not inundated with and overwhelmed with having to go through all this for all the new members. So there's an opportunity to actually have a subcommittee. And why I say it's an opportunity that we often lose is because when you now have a subcommittee, besides grooming a successor for that role in the following year for continuity, people also get more actively involved and actively engaged. An aspect that often happens in a number of clubs that leads to clubs fizzling out is there are members who are not necessarily club officers, and their absence is not noticed because they do not have any connection to the goings on in the club. So I would urge that in your club, at least make sure every member belongs to some subcommittee. It could be the education subcommittee, the PR subcommittee, the membership subcommittee, or even the treasurer subcommittee. When it's time for dues, you can then just allocate amongst the subcommittee members of the treasurer. I know in my country, one of the challenges that we actually have is the issue of the method of payment. So in some instances, you actually then need to hand over cash to the treasurer. So the treasurer might not be able to make it and the member might not be able to make it. But if there's a subcommittee, you could find a way. Maybe there's somebody who works close to where this person who needs to pay is. And then you solve that, that issue. So at the end of it, use of subcommittees will lighten the load. And I'm talking of this because in a number of instances, clubs then struggle because it is the vice president membership and the vice president membership alone who's trying to reach to the 5 new members, to reach out to the 5 new members in terms of this induction that I'm talking about, or this orientation that we're talking about, and in terms of this program, this onboarding program, which is the mentoring program that we're talking about. Let's have all hands on deck. Sounds more like a tongue twister day. But at the end of it, when we now have that, there's the issue of the building of relationships and the like. From there, now you have somebody who understands the process, somebody who understands that my gap is going to be filled in this way, and they've been assigned somebody to take them through in terms of their intention or in terms of their objective. A step that may not necessarily take place at this point, but it needs to take place soon enough. It can be via the mentor or still via the vice president membership. I think somebody mentioned that it could have been Grace or Suraj. Let them understand what Toastmasters is, just in a nutshell. What is Toastmasters? At times we assume those things because we probably have been in the club maybe for a year, 6 months to a year, and we just think it's normal. Rarely do we think back to when we first walked into the club and how daunting some of these things were, and whoever assisted us at that time, and if we didn't get assistance. But very rarely do we not actually get assistance. Those who did not get assistance, I would hazard to say even 90%, if not, I hope less, but it could be more. I hope it's actually less than 90%. those who did not get assistance in this onboarding and were engaged to a mentor soon enough, they left the club. Because now no one has even taken time to understand what their needs are and also to let them in on the commitment that is required from them. So the next step is let them understand what the organization is about. I mentioned the issue of Toastmasters International, and again, the club, just in brief, just to understand that. And also meeting assignments, what the principal roles in the club. If it was in a face-to-face meeting, you would have the seat binary whereby the mentor sits next to the mentee. And probably every now and again, they are indicating to them where we are on the program and the like. It assists them to build confidence. Often you find that a new member does not even know a single person. They may not know a single person in the club. So it's important to assist them in building the confidence and also in getting to know people. Let them understand the club officer roles, the roles that we have in the club, the evaluation processes, and how all this works through. And again, how they can be involved. I mentioned earlier on that lack of involvement often leads to members just fizzling out. And particularly for new members, get them involved as quickly as possible. So there could be many other opportunities that are available. I told you about my one, which is the international speech contest. The moment that I knew that there was going to be an international speech contest, I was chuffed. And I had to stay long enough for the next contest. Unfortunately, the next contest, I did not qualify. So I had to wait for the second contest. And by that time, the bug had beat. I think my blood was now all Toastmasters. And so because I had to wait for something that I wanted to be heavily involved in, by the time that I got to participate, lo and behold, I was already secretary of the club. So here is the involvement, and people are already getting engaged. And subsequently, they could actually even join one of the committees that I was telling you about. And it could be a quick selling point. So you have these subcommittees, and this is what they do. They work under these particular leaders. Get them involved. Just don't overwhelm them. Then again, there are district conferences. We're going to be having a district conference here in May. It's a highlight. And what happens at district conferences? All the countries in Southern Africa, most of the countries in Southern Africa. And now I have bragging rights, right? For me, I now have been bragging, not only in mainland Africa, we also have members who will be participating, who will be coming from Mauritius and who will be coming from Madagascar. So already locally, for your own information, locally, that's a huge selling point. When people know that even from those well-to-do islands, people are also participating in this event. That also helps. So what are the opportunities? We've already spoken about the issue of the pathways, and it's a good thing that we seem all to be on board. If you do not have that particular arm for you, it becomes very important. Everything has been established, and we have understood the gap. They have committed to, you have told them the skin in the game that is required on their part. And now they've understood the goings on in the club. How do I do it? This is the materials. Maybe if I may just take a step back to the part where I was saying it then assists you, when you hear their needs, it assists you in pairing them with the mentor. Once the mentor has come through, the mentor assists them with the icebreaker. So the icebreaker is the first speech, and this is just speaking. So you see, I still have hangover of the legacy program. Learning to speak, start speaking before an audience. So that's the icebreaker. So assist them through the elements of the protocols, but then just handhold them into delivering that speech. And the mentorship that we are talking about here, I said that we'll zero in specifically on the new members, how we are taking in the new members. So the mentor is sitting with the new member or assisting the new member right through their level 1. We spoke about the mechanics of how exactly to do this, and there's also material on how exactly a mentor can then work. If I were to include that in this presentation, it will take even a longer time. But now I'm just talking of the framework of the mentorship program. The mentor then is assigned a mentee. After the mentor has been assigned a mentee, they then take them through the icebreaker and subsequently right through level 1. Beyond level 1, usually a person has been in the organization at least 3 months. If they're a fast learner, maybe 2. Rarely is it a month, but it can also happen. But once they have gone to that point, if they have stayed that long, that means they have learned a lot in the 2, 3, 4 meetings that they have attended. In terms of confidence and being able to relate with the club, I believe they're at a better footing than a totally new member. And that is the point that we want all new members to get to at the very least complete their level 1. And that should be the thrust of the mentorship program, to make sure that we get to that point. And just the back office of that mentoring program and the relationship, once that assignment has been done, the vice president education or the vice president membership, or you could also include the IPP, do what works for your club. I will not be prescriptive on that. Some clubs use the IPP to manage the mentoring program. Some clubs use the vice president membership. Some clubs use the vice president education. The vice president education has got a lot of work to do. I was a vice president education once, and it can be daunting for them to be chasing up speakers for the next meetings. Somebody has dropped off and still manage the mentorship program. There are some who have got broad shoulders, but for me, the vice president education is the operations director. I would desire that the operations director stick to the knitting. Let them stick with the core business, because the operation of the club hinges on them. So if I were to give a suggestion, vice president membership, IPP, if there is an IPP, there could be new clubs where there is no IPP totally. So that could be a different scenario altogether. But they then run the mentorship program. There is material which is mentorship, the mentorship program. There is a kit that you can actually purchase. It's a digital copy for $10 US on the store, Toastmasters online store. Purchase that and use it for your club. The instructions are there. Read the materials. For close to 100 years, Toastmasters has been concentrating, improving, and evolving speaking and leading material. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's not be inundated when there is material that we can refer to. So that's the other material that I would recommend, the mentoring program. The mentoring program, the kit, it's $10 US. It should be $10 US. And then there the material. What that kit will assist you to do is to be a bit more organized, so that it's not daunting. And in terms even of the, in terms of the allocations of the mentors, and in terms of even the follow-up, what then becomes key for a mentorship program to be effective is the follow-up. You cannot control what you do not measure. So just having an allocation, so-and-so is mentoring so-and-so, so-and-so is mentoring so-and-so, and you say that you've got a mentoring program, chances are you may not glean the most value from it. Have a method of being able to follow up. And this, again, the Vice President Membership Committee, IPP included, courtesy call on the new member. How far are you? Have you met with your mentor? And even with the mentor, just have that conversation so that to make sure that the relationship is happening. There could be instances where the mentor actually disappears. Okay, disappears is a strong word and it's got a negative connotation. They may be busy and they may drop the ball. On the other end, even the mentee can also drop the ball. So the mentor has to be more like an accountability partner to the mentee. Follow up. If there's a challenge that's taking place. I remember when we were in the first season of the Mentors Without Borders, one of the mentors, one of the coaches that we were working with, actually indicated on one of the assignments that I had asked them to go through, that their mentee was actually hospitalized. And because they were following up, that's when they found out that they were hospitalized. And the fact, they actually chaffed that I'm hospitalized, I'm a new member, here is somebody who's following up on me. And they made their commitments. As soon as they were well, they hit off, they continued, they resumed their mentoring relationship. And I'm sure that person is still a member of the organization. Now, imagine if the mentor had not followed up, the person did not have any organic connection to the club. Toastmasters would probably have been last on their priority list when they had gotten better. But the fact that there's somebody who cares, it assisted them to actually come back on board. It assisted them to eventually accomplish their objectives. So that said, the element of then managing that relationship, for me, the element of managing that relationship is the mentoring program. And like I said earlier on, in Toastmasters, we are here to learn. There are instances where it will not work. When you solve that problem, when you try and find ways of solving that problem, you are learning. And that is how we learn. I always challenge people, particularly on the leadership track, because it seems to be a salient feature in our program. I challenge people that when you're a club officer, even on the corporate platform, when you are a club officer, supposing you're the vice president education, and you don't bring out the agenda on time, and maybe sometimes not even at all, but because you know that you're the vice president education, there's this guilt conscience that you always have that, but I didn't deliver the agenda on time this time. Maybe let me try and deliver it next time. Or maybe you don't deliver it and your president calls you, or maybe doesn't even call you. You've got that knowing feeling inside you that I should be doing something. If you were to succeed, I doubt you'll be able to succeed, particularly as a vice president of education, without delivering the agenda for 12 whole months and you continue being there. But supposing theoretically you were to go on that path and that would actually happen, by the end of the year, for the reason that you were thinking about it and maybe at times getting anxious about it, at times being guilty about it, there is some learning that has taken place. That going through that experience, some form of learning. But if you get engaged and you find somebody who speech, which I actually encourage vice president education. In fact, the club officers have a pocket speech for your next project. So work on your next project. And even if you're not on the agenda, make sure that you've got it. If somebody doesn't attend, you then deliver it. You are learning. So that's how we learn in Toastmasters. So as you run this mentorship program, there will be sticking points. But remember, the main objective of this is to serve this new member so that they stay long enough to benefit from the program. That is the be-all and end-all of a mentorship program. Ease the new member into the club so that they stay long enough to benefit from the program. Like I indicated, there is a kit that you can then use in terms of understanding what exactly you need to do and how you assign people and the like. But for me, that then becomes the detail. But the overview that we can cover in this time that we have is just that understanding. So firstly, why is this member here? Secondly, what are the gaps? And thirdly, how do we assist them to close the gaps? And the operating system, like I would want to call it, the operating system, I know most of us, if not all of us, have got smartphones. The operating system that is there for us in establishing the program is, I was about to say the base camp, but it is the online resources that we have. Onboarding the individual on so that they get to do the assessment and they get to understand how the system works. The mentor can always then assist them if they have any issues. If the mentor does not know, they can always reach out to somebody who knows. It could be the vice president education. The vice president education has to know. The secretary has to know. The president has to know. And even the mentor would know, because I hope I am not wrong to then assume that everyone, every senior member or everyone who's not a new member, who has been in the organization for at least 1 month, is on the Pathways program. Because if you joined Toastmasters 15 years ago or more than 15 years ago, like I did, and you are not on Pathways, you may be a dinosaur. But guess what? Here is an opportunity. If you actually take up mentorship, it could also assist you to quickly come to speed. You have a little bit of fire under your chair, so that it warms you up to quickly get on board on the program. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, like we say, this then just sums it up. But if there's one thing that you also then need to remember, it's action. As long as we do not act, we will remain where we are. So the assignment of the mentor to the new member is just one step. That relationship has to be consummated. It's like there's you attend a wedding, then after the wedding, the married people each goes to their former homes, like I would call them. There's no marriage. After the marriage, there has to be a honeymoon. So after the allocation of the mentor and the mentor to the mentee or to the protege, there has to be a honeymoon, whereby it's all exciting and they're onboarding.
Can somebody WhatsApp me who was there, please? WhatsApp me.
Feedback. I was getting feedback. Can I go ahead?
Please continue, Edmore.
All right. I think we could go on and on, but at the end of it, the bigger issue for me is the issue of action. So now, it was mentioned earlier on, let's schedule the icebreaker. Once we have had the allocation of the mentor, we schedule the icebreaker. And for a new member, we also schedule the induction. Somebody mentioned the induction, where they are now being accepted, and they're also making the Toastmasters promise. And in terms of the mentorship program, in terms of the mentoring, remember, we're onboarding a new member. Have a follow-up. After they've completed their level 1 just a follow-up interview. Remember, there was this interview at the beginning. Let's have a follow-up after they've done their level 1. So you wanted to improve on these skills. How far are we? How far have you gone? How have you enjoyed the experience? How else can we assist you? And. But this works best if there's a subcommittee that actually does it. And I would strongly urge subcommittees to be formed for this. I know I did not talk about new clubs. That was the limit of time, but maybe just to quickly go to it in a minute so that we have an opportunity for question and answer. Let me just quickly add that for new clubs, you've got resources that you have. For any club to be formed, there has to be a sponsoring club. Sponsoring club over and above assisting in terms of the registration and the like, it's also a resource for the new club in terms of mentors and in terms of just guidelines for these many people that are coming through. You also have a club mentor, and the club mentor is specifically there for that reason. And the club mentor goes through more like onboarding of everyone in terms of they will take you through various educationals that help you to understand the organization better and help you to get value from the organization. So I just thought I would add that, particularly for the new clubs, you've got help that can assist. And over and above all this, there is the Mentors Without Borders, which is headed by Pushpa. Just plug in and see what value you can actually glean from it. I'm sure they can assist with 1 or 2 mentors, or they can assist with somebody to assist you with running the mentorship program, just on the framework side and also on the operationalization of each side. That said, I've been talking a lot. Like I said, I joined Toastmasters to become a world champion of public speaking. And I think I've added some hours or some time, some stage time to that objective in the past almost 1 hour and 15 minutes. I will now keep quiet and allow people to contribute, to ask any burning questions. 2 special resources that I mentioned earlier on, this new member orientation and also the one that you need to get from the Toastmasters store, which is the mentoring program.
Hi, Edmo. At this point, I'm going to come in and maybe throw a challenge at you, and hopefully the leaders on this call will be happy. It would be lovely if you shared with us a framework that our leaders could use as they continue on their journey, just a basic checklist of all the things that they need to look out for and to make sure that they cover as they continue on their journey. Edmo has graciously dropped it in the chat box. So if you're on this call, please maybe click on the link or screen grab it. I'm going to also get that link and share it with you in our dedicated WhatsApp group that I'll speak about shortly. But you've covered so much, Edmo, and I'm not even going to regurgitate everything that you've said. There was a question that came through the chat box about when a person doesn't want to participate. I think this is where a person's reason for joining, and even in a corporate club, don't assume that my colleagues joined because they're my friends, because I forced them, because they see me and they want to be like me. You still need to find out from them, why did they decide to become part of Toastmasters? And when you do, you'll realize that their reasons are very, very different. Always tie their reason up to Toastmasters, and don't assume that everyone's joined to speak or that everyone's joined to lead. Sometimes you join to lead and then you end up speaking, and vice versa. So just make sure that you're absolutely clear on why each person has joined, and then tie their reason to Toastmasters. But then again, there's that Toastmasters promise. I've been to a lot of clubs. I've noticed a lot of clubs don't tell their members that when they're inducting them. And part of the promise that Edmo spoke about is it speaks about attending meetings regularly. It speaks about actively participating. It speaks about taking on a leadership role when called upon to do so. All the challenges that you're saying you're experiencing at your club is covered by that Toastmasters promise. So always make sure, especially as you get new members and more so in a new club, that you remind your members constantly about the promise. Because once you do, it almost becomes your structure as a club, because people remember a promise that they made. And remember, they say a promise you make is a promise that you keep. So remind your members about that promise and always refer to it as often as possible. I want to throw something at you, Edmore, as we have 10 minutes left, is at my club. So what happens is, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm sure we can be in this group, is a lot of us love to be mentored. We love it. We love someone to just be helping us, but we don't like helping others. Be honest. We don't like helping others. We love to get a mentor, but we don't like to mentor others. And so at one of my home clubs, we looked at the option of doing group mentoring, where Edmore spoke about pairing people up with similar interests. So if you're like Edmore and you want to be a world champion of public speaking, and there's maybe someone in your club who has possibly not been the world champion, but maybe was in the area contest or in the division contest in previous years, you could pair that person with that individual, with that member. But maybe there are a few people who have similar aspirations. So instead of pairing one, if you don't have capacity, look at group mentoring, where people with similar interests are paired together. That way, it doesn't put pressure on the members who are already there, who feel like, oh, I've got to mentor 5 people on my own. Whereas if you put them in a group, you find that they may get skills, or they may learn, they'll be able to learn from each other. That can also apply if you're looking outside of the club. So for you, Siraj, you mentioned that you're in a new club, and there may be members, I saw Matome on the call, you're from a new club, you don't have those people in your club that have been champions or people who have been there for longer than you have been, and you're going to be looking outside of your club. So when you reach out to people outside of your club, don't just say, we're looking for mentors, because that is so general. Speak to the needs of the people in your club. We're looking at people who have, for example, if it's leadership, someone who's been a leader within Toastmasters at something higher than a club level, who could help our leaders aspire or aspiring to be leaders. Or maybe some of our leaders have stage fright, those who've conquered stage fright, so that you're getting mentors that speak to the challenges that your members are facing. So that Maud doesn't just come to your club and Maud is an amazing, I've got an over stage fright, and maybe your members want to, I don't know, they want to lead and I haven't really led. And then I get there and I'm teaching them about stage frights when maybe they need someone to help them with leadership. So be very specific when you look outside of your club, and try and get people who are aligned with that. Bearing in mind that some of us are really stretched, we mentor more than one person, and we also from clubs ourselves. So be a little bit fluid in your approach when you're looking for someone. Don't be so stuck. We need a person who's been a world champion of public speaking, because in District 74, we've only ever had one person, and I'm sure she's also quite busy at the moment. So just be fluid when you're seeking out your requests, but ask. They say no ask, no get. So just remember that, leaders, as you chart a way forward and you look for those people outside of your club, look at home first, because charity begins at home. But if that person doesn't exist and you're looking outside, be very specific when you're reaching out on what the needs are at your club. Don't just say we're looking for mentors. We've got more than 4,000 members in District 74 in Southern Africa. The more specific you are, the more we're able to channel the assistance that you need. If you're from a new club, Suraj, Vatome, and anyone who's watching this video in the future, your new club mentors are a great resource who will be able to find those people for you. But you can also go around and you can look for people yourself. I mentor people who are not from either of my clubs, and people who have approached me, or other leaders who've approached me and said, you're really great with that. Can you please help us with these members who have this specific need? And I was able to assist in that regard. So just look at all those options when you're exploring the mentorship, but just make sure that you're linking it to the person's need, so that when you pair those people, there's a little bit of a match. It might not be completely accurate, but at least that person is speaking to the pain point of your new member. Edmore, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add. I don't know if any of the leaders have any questions for us as we have prepared to wrap up at this point. Edmore, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. It's something that is actually very key, especially the issue of group mentoring. I am fortunate enough to be in one such setup, and believe it or not, I'm also a mentee. And my mentor has got 3 other mentees. And what they have done is we are going to have a meeting. I'm going to have a meeting with the 3 of you because I'm hard pressed for time. And for that meeting, these are the 1, 2, 3 matters that we're going to be discussing. Then after that, we had that meeting, that first initial meeting, and they say that we're going to be having these frequently so that they're able to also then spread themselves to us. Then they are scheduled one-on-ones, which are now more far between. But for the generic material, we then just share it at that point. And this particularly assists where you've got few senior members in a club. And it also assists when you're going to be getting a mentor from outside. It's best that they actually come in and give value to more people. So thank you very much, Maud, for bringing that up. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, rather, I cannot overemphasize the beat of action. If you're on the right track and you just sit on the right track, you will be run over. You will not get any value from this organization. So what we want is to make sure that our new members are quickly engaged so that they are on their path. And even the older members, they're also engaged so that they can also pass on the value to the new members. I know that we are all hard pressed for time, but let's come up with ways that work. I like the issue of fluidity that Maud was talking about. Let's find ways that work. The problem with mankind is their familiarity with the word impossible. And one quick way could be, we just have 2, 3 seasoned members in the club. It is impossible to run a mentoring program. It is possible. The better question to ask is, how can we? And the moment that you start asking that question, you engage your brain to find solutions. I love a saying by one of my respected philosophers, and allow me to end with that. Albert Einstein. Some of you may know it, especially the corporate guys who are in engineering field or in physics. Albert Einstein, he is a great physicist. Those who know him mathematically or in terms of physics, he's famed for E is equal to MC squared. I hope I got it correct. But he is a renowned physicist and philosopher. He said, problems are very easy to solve. The challenge is to find the real problem. Let's go on and find the real problem in our onboarding new members, in running the mentorship program. And before you know it, we will find the solutions, because indeed, problems are very easy to solve. Maud?
Edmore, on behalf of the Corporate Leadership Network, I want to thank you so much for sharing your time, sharing your expertise. Leaders, we have just covered the tip of the iceberg. This is an ongoing conversation, but I hope that you found just this portion useful. I hope that we've challenged you. I trust that we've given you ideas on how to go back and maybe refine what you're currently doing. If maybe you were not doing it the way that we spoke about, maybe we've challenged you with ideas on how you can add to your existing body of knowledge and make your current mentorship program a success. Edmore has agreed to share with us the framework that he put in the chat box. I'm going to add it to our dedicated WhatsApp group. And on the topic of WhatsApp group, leaders, we believe that a conversation like this is ongoing and you need ongoing support. And whilst we've spoken today, the conversation doesn't end here. So in the chat box, I have dropped 2 numbers that are going to assist you as you chart a way forward and build this mentorship program. The first one is my contact number. If you click on that link, it's going to take you straight to WhatsApp. You never need to save my number. So you click on the first link, that is my WhatsApp number. If you're having any challenges and you want to navigate the program or anything that we said today is unclear. The second thing is the dedicated corporate club support WhatsApp group. There we share ideas, we share tips, we share resources, we network. on these kinds of topics. As you go and implement the mentorship program, you're going to hit a few hurdles, or you're going to have a few questions. Hop into the group, ask your question. No question is a silly one, and let us empower each other. Edmo has also agreed to be part of that group, so that if you have any questions that are relating for him specifically, he's going to help you. We're also going to share the framework in that group, so you do not want to miss out as you chart a way forward. The second link, if you click on that, it's going to take you straight through to WhatsApp. Our time together has come to an end today. Leaders, we've said a lot, but we've recorded the session. Please go back with your teams, deconstruct what we've said, see what will work, what will not work. And even if you just implement one thing, then you implement another and another and another, and that's how the snowball effects will come into effect. But they say ideation without execution is delusion. None of these ideas are going to mean anything if, like Edmo said, you do not bring them to life. So go deconstruct, write it down, see what's going to work. If you haven't been speaking to your members, go and find out their whys, link it to Toastmasters, tell them about the Toastmasters promise, get them involved as quickly as possible. Start those subcommittees if you haven't. Oh, and by the way, those subcommittees use Toastmasters lingo. So instead of calling the person the vice president of education, think of them as learning and development. We'll speak more about that in our WhatsApp group. You can ask me about those. But link Toastmasters to their why. And if you need assistance and you don't have it in your club, Suraj, Matome, and those kinds of people from new clubs, seek it from other clubs, but be specific on what it is you're wanting, because we can get that assistance to you, but we can't help you if you don't know what we're looking for. It's been such an honor bringing this very, very special class to you. It's a coaching session on how to set up a mentorship program. Corporate Leadership Network continues. We're going to be speaking about retaining your members in our next session, which is in 2 weeks' time on the 28th of March. If you're here for the first time and you're from a corporate club, the Corporate Leadership Network meets on the 4th Monday of each month. So we're going to meet again on the 28th of March. African time. You don't want to miss it. We speak a lot about it, so please join that WhatsApp group that's in the chat box. We'll also drop it in the description below so that you do not miss it. My name is Maud Nale. It's been an honor bringing you this very special coaching session on setting up a mentorship program. We trust you found it useful. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. We will continue speaking on the topic of mentorship, and all the best as you set your members up for success with that mentorship program. Please have yourself a good day further, leaders, and we'll continue engaging. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. It was a pleasure.